Okay, so this is a video on how to do factor by grouping related to lesson 18. I'll start off with the first example from your homework tonight, which was example number 38. I'm going to move this question over to my loose leaf so I have a little bit more space to work on it and so you can see the steps. So 2x cubed minus x squared minus 72x plus 36. Okay, I'm going to take this over to my other page. And we're going to work on this here. Now here are the steps that we use today in class. The first thing we're going to do when we see something that has 4 terms, so let's see, 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. When you find something that has 4 terms, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to factor it by grouping. The way that we group is, we bracket under the first 2, that's going to be our first group. We're going to bracket under the second 2, and that's our second group. That's why we call it factoring by grouping, because we're grouping the terms. Now what we need to do is we need to factor out a GCF from the first pair, so from this bracket right here. We're going to factor out a GCF. So we look at these terms and we say, what do they have in common? What could I divide out from both of them? Well, they don't both have 2's, but they do both have x's. And the question is, how many x's could I take out? Well, this guy right here has 3 x's, and this guy right here has 2 x's. So I think I can safely take 2 x's out. So I'm going to pull an x squared out from both of these, pull an x squared out, pull an x squared out. What's going to leave me with is 2x minus 1. Now if you don't believe me, do a little bit of a check. Say if I factor back in, x squared times 2x, 2x cubed, x squared times negative 1 is negative 1x squared. So I use multiplication to check to make sure that if I distributed back in, I would get back the same terms. For the second pair, the second group, these guys right here, I'm going to pull out a GCF again. Now because this term here is negative, I'm going to want to pull out a negative number. So what negative number goes into both 72 and 36? They're both divisible by 36, but I'm going to factor out a minus 36 because watch what happens with the signs. 72 divided by 36 is 2, left over with an x, and then 36 divided by negative 36 is going to be minus 1. Do that check in again. Negative 36 times 2x is going to be negative 72x. Okay. And if I do the other distribution, negative 36 times negative 1 is positive 36. This is how I can do a mental check throughout the question to make sure that my numbers are right. Now you may notice that this and this are the same thing. That's always going to happen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my terms into what I call the outside stuff. It's going to go one bubble, and the inside stuff is going to go in a second bubble. What I mean is what's inside and outside the parentheses above. So what's outside stuff? Outside stuff is like this and this. They're outside the parentheses. So we can take both of those, bring them down here, and make this x squared minus 36. Now, the inside stuff is going to be this guy and this guy. They're both inside the parentheses, so I'm just going to smush them together into a single 2x minus 1. And that's my fully factored answer. Now if you want to see one more, I'll pull one more example and walk through it a little bit quicker. And that'll be question 39. Number 39 says 2x cubed plus 5x squared minus 32x minus 80. I'm going to use the same steps that I did before. I'm just going to do it a little bit quicker. If you got what I did on the first example, pause right now, try this question by yourself. Okay, if you're watching this, I'm going to assume that you've already completed the question and that you either got it and you want to know if you did it right, or you got stuck somewhere and you want to know how to get unstuck. So here's what we do. Bracket the first two, and bracket the second two. Those are grouped, okay? So this is my first group, this is my second group. Now I want to pull out a GCF, a greatest common factor, from both of these terms. 2 and 5 have no common factors, but I can pull out an x squared, leaving me with 2x plus 5. The second group, I get negative 32 and negative 80. It might take you a little bit of effort to figure out what the greatest common factor is. Try dividing things in that are factors of 32. Or you could look at these numbers here and say, hey, I'm going to want something that looks like this, 2x plus 5. So what would I divide this by in order to get 2? Whether you did it the easy way or the hard way, you may recognize that the answer is negative 16. If you didn't believe me, negative 16 times 2x is negative 32x. Negative 16 times 5 is negative 80. And look at that. Okay, so just a little proof that it worked. I'm going to combine my outside stuff, x squared minus 16, and my inside stuff, which once again is identical, and that's going to be 2x plus 5. Okay, let's do one more example that has a GCF. If I look at something like number 41, you'll see 10, 45, 70, and 315. They're all divisible by 5. So that's what I'm going to have to do. 10x cubed plus 45x squared plus 70x plus 315. Cut that over to my loose leaf. Same steps, but this time, just like we did in class, I'm going to start off by dividing out a GCF. So that's like a reverse distribution method. It means I'm going to divide every single one of these terms by the same thing, and I'm going to pull it out to the front outside of the parentheses. So like I said, 10, 45, 70, 315, the only thing they have in common is the number 5. So I'm going to pull that 5 to the outside. When I divide all these by 5, I'm going to get 2x cubed plus 9x squared plus 14x. And I may want a calculator for this one. 315, that's going to be 63. So plus 63. I'm going to do factor by grouping on these terms inside here. A GCF from the first two is just going to be x squared. Let me change my colors so it doesn't all sort of blur together now. So I'm going to pull out an x squared, leaving me with 2x plus 9. Distribute in would give me back this and this. Check that multiplication yourself. On the right hand side, 14 and 63 are both divisible by 7. So I'm going to factor at a positive 7, positive because of that sign. And what I'm going to be left with is 2x plus 9. You may be noticing a trend here. It's not coincidental. So this is the outside stuff. So x squared plus 7. And then I've got the inside stuff, which is the same. 2x plus 9. And if you're wondering what happened to this 5 from the very beginning, he still has to come along for the ride, and you put him right back in front where he started. And that's my final answer. Good luck with homework, and I'll see you in class tomorrow. Stop by office hours if you have any issues.